Hello, everyone. Matt with Green Bar Trading here, and welcome back to another weekly watch list video. We're going to go over everything that you need to know for the week ahead. Now, we always start with our earnings for the week. All right. A lot of earnings on tap this coming week. We are in the middle of earnings season, and it has been amazing so far. We've seen some really big moves, and it's given us a lot of opportunity in the market. So it's exciting to see. So before we get into it, hit the thumbs up for the video. If you're new, consider subscribing to the channel. Okay, so there's our earnings. I'll leave that up on the screen for a second so that you guys can take a look at it. The big one is going to be Wednesday and Thursday. It's all big, but that's when we're going to see Amazon. We're going to see Google. We're going to see Apple, Facebook. These are all the big time weighting on the index. So that's going to be definitely something we're going to want to keep an eye on. Okay, now let's go over to the economic calendar. Now, I'm going to start last week so we can take a look and see what data was coming out and how the market responded. So on Thursday, we had what we've been basically seeing all year long. We've been seeing a strong labor market. We've been seeing strong GDP numbers suggesting, recession has definitely not started yet. We're definitely not in one. And then the durable goods orders. Just a huge beat on that number. That's all your consumer discretionary. That means that the consumer has been buying, still spending money. And then on Friday, you have the inflation that was all in line with expectations. All right. It shows that inflation has definitely peaked and it's on its way down. All very good for the market. Now, if we can look here on the PCE, you can see that even though the number is coming on down, it's still very elevated. It still has a big way to go to get back down to that pre-pandemic under 2% reading, which is where we were when we were seeing inflation at 2%. So there still is a lot of room. There's still a lot of work for the Fed to do. That's what happened last week. Now looking at this week, it's just going to be a wild week. There's going to be a ton of volatility. There's going to be a ton of days where you can really take advantage of some big moves in the market. And that's all going to be right here on Wednesday. You have Powell speaking at 2:30. You have the federal funds rate at 2. So what's priced in right now is about a 1/4 point increase. Definitely, I don't think a 1/2 point is priced in right now. A 1/4 point rate hike is definitely currently in the market. All right, so that's probably what we'll get at 2 o'clock. And then at 2:30, that's when things get really interesting. When Powell starts talking. How is he going to address what is going on right now in the markets? Because the bond market simply does not believe what they are saying. And the Fed usually does not like that. So we're going to have to see what Powell says at 2:30. We're going to have to see how hawkish or maybe a dovish little pivot. It's going to be really interesting. So that's Wednesday right there. And then, it doesn't get any easier after that. You have the NFPs on Friday, so the jobs number. So what we've been seeing, tight labor market. We've seen wages still way too high for inflation, for the Fed. We're seeing unemployment rate at all-time lows. These are all things that concern the Fed right now, and which is probably why they will, continue to keep rates where they are. They're going to continue to raise them, and just to make sure they have a good economy to do it in. People still have money. This is the time to, get that inflation down. So we'll see what happens. But that's the economic calendar. Now, for last week, this is our sectors and the performances. So last week, we saw the consumer discretionary have a huge week. It had a huge day on Friday. And that's all because of that number that I showed you guys before. This durable goods number that came in at a huge beat on Thursday. So that really gave the consumer discretionary sector a big boost. Now, we've seen technology that's been on a tear. Everything has basically been on a tear, except for those defensive plays like energy, healthcare, utilities. The consumer defensive, those have taken a back seat while the market has just ripped up in January. Do I think that's going to last? No, I do not. That's just my opinion. But I think that the market is definitely due for a pullback. The timing, that's anybody's guess. Nobody can know that for sure. But that's just my opinion. So what we have seen working really well are the technology, the consumer discretionaries, and what we haven't seen working are your defensive value type stocks. All right, so that's the sectors. Going into our compass. So we're going to take a look at the SPY here on the daily chart. So coming into last week, before we made the video, we were sitting right at that 200 moving average, right here. And then we had these 5 trading days that were just outrageous. Very, very strong days. Now, when we were coming into this, the point of control is right here. You can see this huge amount of volume. And coming into it last week, hitting the 200 moving average and the point of control, I said that I need to see this break before I could change into that bullish mentality, because this is a lot of volume here. So once this broke, there you go. You have your nice vacuum here where price can go up to. So that's going to be around this 410 area on the SPY. We did see a little bit of a pullback in like that last half an hour of trading on Friday. I think that might have just been profit taking, ahead of a big week coming up. We have been on a very nice run, but that's just where we're sitting right now. 410 is definitely going to be my next area there. Right before this overhead supply, probably be some resistance if we don't see continuation of resistance on Monday, right off of the bat. But, with so much economic data coming out in big days, I just think it's going to be really choppy for the first couple days of the week. On the Qs, I'm going to look at this one on the 3 year so we could get a better eyesight on this one. We have resistance here, right? All along this line, turn support, okay? And then looking at it on this year, this is where we're coming right back up against it. Right here, we rejected, came back up, rejected again, and that's where we're sitting right now. All right, right here. We did climb over the 200. That's very bullish. Right here is where, if we don't see a pullback, RSI is at overbought levels. Whenever we've hit up here, you can see back here, whenever we've hit, we've seen a bit of a pullback. And that's what I'm expecting to happen before a possible move higher. And I'm looking for that 200 moving average to act as support. If we don't get support there, then maybe we pull on back to the point of control. But right now we're sitting at some resistance. So we'll just have to wait and see how that one plays out. All right, so that's the Qs. This is the Dow Jones, the DIA, which is just the Dow Jones ETF. Currently just sitting in this wedge right here. Made the video last week as we were down here at the trend line, had some decent days, choppiness around the point of control, and then broke out right into this, short-term downtrend line. All right, so that's the Dow, the technicals on that. I mean, on all the major averages, we're over the 3 most important moving averages. So that's very bullish right now. But, things are getting a little too hot on that, RSI. So just be careful of that. Now on IWM, last week we had called this 190 to 188 was going to be resistance. Now that's where we sit. We're currently right there. So a lot of markets are very close, if not already at resistance, going into a very, very key week. So it's going to be very tough to tell which way we go, especially Monday and Tuesday, until we start to see what the Fed has to say and what those big companies' earnings have to say. So that's the IWM. Taking that off, I want to look at the VIX really quickly for you guys. The VIX has been just showing extreme confidence right now in the market. There is no fear at all right now. And the VIX was telling us that this whole time as it continued to roll over and break support. Our stock market has been really rallying very nicely. All right. So until this gets some spikes, we're going to continue to see that. So VIX at year lows, that's good. Now, some things that I'm looking at, and I had posted in our Discord community, is the XLE. So this is the energy ETF. Now, I had set an alert for this to go off right under resistance because I see resistance at this level. Looking at it on a bigger time frame, you can see if we extend that, you're right up against resistance here. It broke out a little bit this year and then came back down. So this is a massive, massive weekly head and shoulders pattern. You have a shoulder here, you got the head here, and then another shoulder here. So we are at that level. We were also at this resistance. All right. So setting alerts right here, you could have gotten in, and I alerted our Discord to see a pullback. And that's what we got. So that's going to be resistance right now. So going into this week, just watch this level. See what happens around that level. That's XLE. Tesla has just been an absolute monster. Look at that volume. That is just a crazy, crazy amount of volume. So this is a short squeeze, a very, very big one. Now I see resistance next stop up around 200 on Tesla. So that's what we're going to be looking at over on Tesla. Now Meta has hit our price target. Now this one, you're going to have to look and make sure that that 200 moving average, which is what it just got up to, and the RSI is extremely overbought. So this was what I called out when we broke 123. I posted this, in our Sunday picks for the week a couple weeks ago, that we were going to see a nice run to this 200 moving average. And we got it. So you might see some profit taking over here. So watch Meta very carefully, but we have earnings coming up for it. So you just have to be very aware of when these companies have earnings before you decide, to get into any trades, any swing trades. It's going to be a very tricky week, but that's very oversold on the RSI. So just be aware of that. Tesla also. Tesla, very oversold on the RSI. When you're overbought on the RSI. When you're oversold, that's when you want to be buying it. When it's overbought, that's where you want to be taking profit or even shorting it. Now, Tesla's a very strong stock. When it's got momentum going one way or the other, this thing can just continue to go. So you just have to be aware of that. It's just a beast of a stock. All right, so that's Tesla. I think that's where we're going to end it here. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you are new, consider subscribing. We have a Discord community. The link will be in the description for that as well. All right, guys, take care. Have a great day.